In the cold silence beneath the rocky surface of Delta 6, the machines never stopped humming. Pipes hissed with steam. Drills carved endlessly into the black stone. The underground tunnels glowed with a dull orange light. Life here wasn't life. It was survival. Mira Solon wiped sweat from her forehead and ducked under a low beam, her tool pack heavy on her shoulder. She moved with confidence through the mining tunnels. At 29, she was known for fixing anything: drills, bots, generators, even broken spirits. People trusted her, not because she smiled much, she didn't, but because she always showed up when it mattered. Today was no different. The mining bot in shaft 12 had jammed again. Mira knelt beside it, sparks flicking out from the broken panel. She flipped open the casing and pulled out a fried circuit board. Another one gone. She cursed under her breath and reached for a spare. "Careful," someone shouted behind her. A young boy, maybe 10, came running around the corner. Behind him, a crack in the tunnel wall split wider, sending dust pouring from the ceiling. Mira dropped her tools and leapt forward, pulling the boy to the ground just as a chunk of rock slammed into the spot he'd been standing. Alarms blared, lights flickered. The colony was used to cave-ins, but they were never less deadly. "You okay?" Mira asked, gripping the boy's arms. He nodded, eyes wide. Thank you. Get to the shelter tunnel." "Now." Mira helped him to his feet and pointed. He ran. She looked up. The ceiling above shaft 12 groaned under pressure. The bot sparked again, then went still. Mira didn't have time to fix it. She grabbed her tools and backed away. Later, after the alarm stopped and the dust settled, Mira sat on the edge of a crate in the supply bay, her face streaked with dirt. The boy's mother came and thanked her through tears. Mira only nodded. She didn't save people for praise. She did it because it was right. She took a sip from her canteen, then stared at the message blinking on her comm pad. Unidentified signal detected. 4.3 clicks from Delta 6. Pattern. Council drone. Her stomach dropped. The Council. 2 centuries ago, Earth had burned in a war humanity started. The Intergalactic Council, the union of dominant alien species, had declared humans dangerous. Survivors had scattered into hiding. Delta 6 was one of the last places left. Mira stood up, jaw tight. She walked through the colony's dim halls, past tired workers and flickering lights, until she reached the control room. A few others were already there, staring at the screen. "Are we sure it's a drone?" she asked. "Yes," said Rel, the colony's chief technician. But it didn't land. Just passed close, scanned the surface, then moved on. "It saw us?" Mira asked. "We don't know," he replied, but his eyes said otherwise. The Council didn't scan random moons. They scanned when they had a lead. Mira's mind raced. If they were discovered, there would be no warning, no negotiations, just fire from the sky. The colony wasn't ready. They never would be. That night, she lay on her cot staring at the steel ceiling, thoughts heavy. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe the drone was just passing. But Mira didn't believe in luck. Outlawed or not, they were still human. And humans made choices. She'd made hers long ago, never run again. In the distance, the mining drills groaned on. Mira stood alone near the edge of the crater that marked Delta 6's northern ridge. Above her, the stars blinked cold and distant. Her boots crunched on loose gravel as she walked toward a twisted pile of metal, wreckage half buried under ash and rock. It had been spotted the day before, a patrol drone, Council tech. Now, in the light of her headlamp, she confirmed what she feared. The shell was scorched, but the symbol was clear, 6 silver lines circling a single red eye. It was Council-made. Mira crouched beside the drone and brushed away the ash. The damage looked accidental, maybe caused by debris during entry. Whatever the reason, it had crashed. And that meant one thing: it had been here. She opened a side panel and pulled out the memory core, a small black cube. It was warm, still active. Mira stuffed it into her tool bag and hurried back down into the tunnels, heart racing. If the drone had scanned the surface, It might have picked up heat signatures or radio signals. If it had gone deeper, just a little closer, it might have found the entrance. Back inside the colony, the lights flickered above her as she made her way to her workshop. Her space was small. A bench, shelves of parts, old monitors, and her tools lined up neatly. She locked the door behind her and dropped the memory cube onto the scanner pad. The screen buzzed to life. It loaded slowly, but the footage came in clear, grainy black and white video. The drone had hovered above Delta 6 for 7 minutes. It scanned the terrain, focusing on heat pockets and signs of movement. The images zoomed in, and then Mira saw it. A figure, her. She was standing near the main air vent, repairing a loose pipe. Her face, lit by her torchlight, filled the screen for a full 5 seconds before the drone moved on. Mira's hands tightened into fists. It wasn't just a scan. The drone had locked onto her. Her face was in their system now. She wasn't just any human. She was marked. A knock startled her. "Mira, it's Ren," said a voice through the door. Ren was her old friend, a fellow mechanic, and one of the few people she trusted. She unlocked the door and let him in. "You look like you've seen a ghost," he said, stepping inside. "Worse," Mira replied. She showed him the footage. He stared in silence, jaw clenched. "We're exposed." She nodded. "I don't know how deep it scanned, but I was right there. It got a clear shot. Do you think it sent anything back?" Mira looked at the last frame. A signal blinked in the corner of the footage, a transmission code. "Yes," she said. "It sent a ping back to the council." Ren sat down hard on the edge of the bench. "We don't have time. They'll come." "I know." For a moment they didn't speak. The quiet buzz of old wiring filled the silence. Then Ren leaned closer. "You think someone told them where we are?" Mira had been thinking the same thing. There were only a few ways the council could have found Delta 6. A stray signal, maybe. But the colony's tech was tight. The people here were careful. The only real explanation was betrayal. "I don't know," Mira said, though doubt settled heavy in her chest. "Someone must have sent that signal," Ren whispered. "And if they did, they're still here." The next morning, a meeting was called. In the main chamber, leaders and workers stood shoulder to shoulder. The mood was tense. Everyone had heard. A drone had been nearby. No one knew what it saw. Rel, the technician, stood at the front. "We believe the council may have scanned Delta 6. We're still analyzing the data," he said. "There is no need for panic yet." People whispered in fear. Mira stood near the back, silent. "What happens if they come?" Someone shouted. "We have emergency tunnels, shuttles. There's a plan," Rel replied, but his voice was weak. A woman stepped forward. "What if there's a traitor among us?" The room fell quiet. "No proof of that," Rel said quickly. "Let's not turn on each other." Mira left early. She had no interest in speeches. She needed answers. That night she went into the restricted comm logs. Only a few had access. Colony leaders, engineers, tech staff. She scanned through the logs. One transmission had left Delta 6 4 days ago, short encrypted, disguised as mining data, but the signal routing was off. It had been masked. Mira stared at the terminal. Someone had sent a message, a coded one, short and tight, sent to deep space, council coordinates. She shut the terminal off and stood in the dark. Someone in the colony was working with the enemy, and the council was already on its way. The colony was no longer quiet. Whispers followed Mira through the tunnels like shadows. People watched each other longer now, suspicious. Conversations dropped to hushed tones when someone walked by. The sense of safety, already fragile, was gone. Mira felt it all as she moved through the hallways. The news about the drone had spread faster than any official message. Everyone knew. Some feared the worst. Others hoped the council wouldn't return, but Mira knew better. In her workshop, Mira stared at the comlog again, the secret message blinking in her mind like a warning. 4 days ago, someone had reached out to the enemy. She didn't have names, not yet, but she had the signal ID. It was sent using a console in the East Wing, an old mining control station. Only a few people used that terminal now. One of them was her old friend Ren. She didn't want to believe it. Ren had grown up on Delta 6. He was there when Mira's father died during a tunnel collapse. He'd helped her rebuild her workshop. He had always been loyal, but now she had to be sure. She found him near the maintenance bay, welding a pipe joint. "Ren," she said. He lifted his visor. "Mira, you okay? Need to talk. Now." They walked in silence to a small room behind her workshop. She closed the door and faced him. "There was a message sent from the colony 4 days ago, encrypted, but I traced the signal." Ren's eyes narrowed. "You think it was me?" "I don't want to think that," she said quietly. "But you were on that console, so were 2 others. I have to ask." His face darkened. "I've never betrayed this place." "I want to believe that," she said. "But if we don't find out who did, we're all going to die here." Ren didn't answer at first. Then he stepped back. "I've been fixing pressure valves and keeping heat flowing for 10 years. I've bled in these tunnels. Don't ask me again." He stormed out. Mira sat down, heart heavy. If it wasn't Ren, it was someone close to him, someone with access. She couldn't waste time searching for a traitor alone, not anymore. Later that day, Mira met with a small group she trusted, 7 people, all skilled in different areas, engineers, medics, a security officer. She gathered them in her workshop and locked the door behind them. "We've been found," she told them. "We have days, maybe less." "What do we do?" asked Jace, the security officer. "We prepare," Mira said. "If the council comes, we don't run. We fight. We defend what we have left." Some stared at her like she was crazy. Others looked inspired. "How?" asked Lyra, a drone tech. "We use what we know," Mira said. "We take the mining bots and rewire them. We turn them into defense drones. They're strong. They can move through the tunnels. If we can program them right, they'll be ready." "It'll take time," said Lyra. "Start tonight," Mira replied. "I'll help." "What about the colony leaders?" Jace asked. "They won't approve." "They don't have to," Mira said. "They're still hoping this blows over, but it won't." The group got to work. Inside the dark tunnels, far from the colony's main quarters, the mining bots were pulled apart. Sparks flew as they stripped parts and rerouted circuits. Mira worked non-stop, her hands sore, her eyes burning from lack of sleep. By the 3rd night, they had 6 working units. Each one stood taller than a person, with arms designed to carry drills, but now fitted with makeshift weapons. They weren't perfect, but they were ready to defend. As the others rested, Mira stood alone with one of the reprogrammed bots. "We were builders," she whispered. "Now we're defenders." She looked at the bot's lifeless shell and placed her hand on the cold metal. This wasn't what she wanted. She had dreamed of rebuilding Earth one day, or at least finding peace. But peace had been denied to humans long ago. 2 days later, a signal reached the colony's comm station. Mira was there when it came through. A simple message, broadcasted on Council code: "Prepare for inspection. Council ship entering orbit. Surrender all illegal inhabitants." Rel read it out loud, pale and sweating. "They're coming." Some in the room cried. Others stood frozen. "We need to evacuate," said one leader. "No," Mira said firmly. "If we run now, they'll follow. If we scatter, we lose everything. This is our home." "This was never our home," someone argued. "It's just a hole in the rock." Mira raised her voice, louder than she ever had before. "It's the last place we have. We've hidden long enough. If we give up now, we prove them right, that we're weak, that we don't belong. I say we show them that humans still fight." The room was silent. Then one by one, heads nodded. She didn't need everyone. She only needed enough. That night, Mira stood in the tunnel with her small team. The bots were ready. The escape routes were set for the civilians. Her friends looked tired but determined. Mira took one last look down the hallway. Somewhere above, in the dark sky beyond the rock, the council ship had arrived. No more running. Delta 6 never had mornings. The underground colony stayed in the same dull light at all hours, but today felt different. The air was heavier. People spoke in whispers, moving quickly through the tunnels. Parents held their children close. Engineers checked generators again and again, even if nothing was wrong. Above them, the sky had changed. The council ship had arrived. It floated in orbit like a giant black eye, silent and cold, a warship, built not just for travel but for destruction. Its weapons could melt entire cities. Delta 6 was small, almost invisible compared to it. But the colony wasn't hidden anymore. In the control room, Mira stood at the main console. Her team was gathered around her. She watched the screens, showing heat signatures and scans from surface sensors. "They haven't fired yet," Rel said, his voice thin. "They will," Mira answered. "They're just waiting to give us time to panic." Jace, the security officer, looked up. "We hold them off as long as we can. Then we get the civilians out." Mira nodded. "The bots are ready. Defense routes are mapped. Everyone knows where to go. We fight here, in the tunnels, close quarters. And if they break through," someone asked, "then we slow them down until the others are gone." The first blast came without warning. A low rumble shook the colony, followed by a deafening roar. Dust poured from the ceilings. Lights flickered, then shut off for a moment, before emergency power kicked in. Screams echoed in the distance. Pipes burst. Mira grabbed her comm. "Report." Jace's voice came through the static. "Direct hit near Sector 3. No casualties yet. Just damage." Mira turned to her team. "Move out." They ran down the metal corridors, boots clanging on the floor. Mira's heart pounded. This was it. By the time they reached Sector 3, smoke was filling the air. A massive hole had been torn into the wall. Through it, they could see the surface, the dark sky above, and descending from it, a sleek black dropship, glowing blue with thrusters. Council troops were coming. Mira raised her hand. "Bots engage." Her 6 reprogrammed mining bots marched forward. Their heavy feet made the ground shake. Their arms, once built for drilling, now held mounted plasma cutters and pulse cannons. The first of the council troops landed. Tall, armored beings with sharp helmets and glowing weapons. No faces, only helmets with red visors. The bots fired. The hallway exploded with light and sound. Pulse blasts lit up the smoke. The bots moved slowly, but with strength. 2 council soldiers went down in seconds. The rest took cover, returning fire. Mira ducked behind a support beam, firing her own weapon, a modified shock rifle. The air burned with heat and sparks. She could smell scorched metal and melting plastic. "Bot 3 down," Lyra shouted from across the hall. "Keep pushing," Mira yelled. One bot charged forward, slamming into a squad of soldiers and crushing them against the tunnel wall. The others followed. They weren't trained fighters, but they were strong, and they didn't fear death. Minutes passed, maybe longer. Then Mira heard something worse than the gunfire. Silence. She peeked out. The bots were down, all of them. The council troops stood among the wreckage, moving forward. Mira grabbed her comm. "Fall back. Now. They're through." Her team began retreating, covering each other as they ran deeper into the tunnels. Behind them the council moved like a black tide. Mira stopped at a corner, shot 2 more soldiers, then ran after her group. The civilians were already moving. Families rushed through the lower escape tunnels, helped by volunteers and medics. The old shuttle, a rusty, barely working craft, was being loaded. It wasn't fast, it wasn't strong, but it could carry people far enough to avoid the next strike. Mira arrived just as the final group boarded. "Everyone ready?" she asked. Rel nodded. "We have room for 52. No more. If we go now, we can make it to the asteroid belt." "Go," Mira said. Rel stared. "You're not coming. I'll hold them off. Buy you time. You won't survive." "I know." He opened his mouth to argue, but closed it again. He knew there was no point. He stepped aboard, and the shuttle doors sealed shut. Mira turned back toward the main tunnel. Behind her the engines roared to life. The ship lifted slowly, scraping the tunnel ceiling, and then vanished into the dark. She was alone. The lights above her flickered again as power dipped. Mira stood at the center of the tunnel, holding her weapon. Smoke filled the air. Far ahead she saw them coming, council soldiers in a straight line, stepping over fallen bots and debris. Then a new figure stepped forward, taller than the rest, sleek armor, red cloak, High Enforcer Regulon Vrex. Mira had seen his image before, in stolen files, old transmissions. He was the one who signed the death orders for human colonies, the one who called them genetic threats. Now he was here. He stopped just 10 meters away. "You are Mira Solon," he said. His voice was cold, without anger or emotion. "Leader of this illegal colony." "I didn't ask for that title," she said. "You have delayed the Council's will. You will surrender now." She shook her head. "You destroyed Earth. You hunted our people. And still we're here. That should scare you." "It does not," he said. "You will not win." "I don't have to win," she said, raising her hand to the trigger on her belt. "I just have to make sure you lose a little more." His eyes narrowed. She pressed the trigger. The explosion ripped through the tunnel. A final charge, planted in the walls days before, detonated. Fire swallowed the corridor. Stone collapsed. The roof caved in, sealing the path behind Mira and crushing everything in its path. Far away, in deep space, the shuttle carrying the last of the humans disappeared into the black. Smoke filled the tunnels. Dust hung in the air like a heavy fog. Chunks of rock and steel lay everywhere. The ground was cracked, broken open by the blast Mira had triggered. The heat still pulsed through the walls, and yet she was alive. Mira coughed, pulling herself out from under a steel beam. Her shoulder throbbed. Her suit was torn. Blood ran down her arm. Her ears rang, but her mind was clear. She had bought them time. She pushed to her feet, wobbling slightly, and looked back toward the sealed tunnel. The collapse had been massive. Nothing would get through that easily, not even Regulon, but it wouldn't stop him forever. Mira limped down a side tunnel, one hand pressed to her ribs. Her body ached, but she kept moving. The colony was nearly empty now. Just a few support corridors remained. Quiet, still. She passed through the living quarters. All the beds were empty. The halls echoed with silence. She passed by the old dining area, the training room, and the children's playroom. Each space felt like a memory already fading. This place had once felt like home. Now it was a tomb. Near the old power core, Mira stopped to rest. She sat on a crate and opened a small medkit, wrapping her arm and shoulder. As she worked, the soft buzz of static came from her con. She lifted it to her ear. "Mira," said a faint voice. "Can you hear me?" It was Rel. "I'm here," she whispered. "We're clear of orbit. The Council ship didn't follow. They're focused on the colony. You gave us a chance." Mira closed her eyes in relief. "Good," she said. "Keep them safe. You should have come with us." "No," she replied. "They needed time. That was my job." There was a pause. Then Rel said softly, "You won't make it out, will you?" Mira didn't answer right away. "I don't plan to," she said. "Not yet." "Then thank you, Mira, for everything." The signal cut. Silence returned. An hour passed. Then came the sound of metal, bent, twisted, broken. From behind the collapsed tunnel, Mira heard it. Regulon's forces had started digging. Maybe drones, maybe machines. They wouldn't stop. He would come. He always did. So Mira prepared. She went to the last storage bay, what remained of the drone lab. There were 2 older bots there, rusted, but still operable. She patched them up as best she could, giving each a shock core and a single explosive charge. They wouldn't hold the line for long, but they might surprise the enemy. She set them in the hallway, aimed them at the breach. Then she waited. The breach cracked open sometime near the end of the next cycle. A soft vibration in the wall told her first. Then the rumble, then the crash. The wall split open, and Council soldiers poured in. Mira activated the bots. The first one rushed forward, blasting its core in a bright white light. The tunnel shook again. Screams followed. Mira used the chaos to fire from behind cover, taking down 3 soldiers. The second bot charged, and its explosion sent debris flying in all directions. Still they kept coming. Then through the smoke, Mira saw him. Regulon. He stepped into the hallway, cloak torn, helmet cracked on one side. A long burn mark crossed his armor, but he was still standing, his eyes locked on her. "You continue to resist," he said. "I told you," Mira replied, raising her weapon. "We don't run anymore. You are alone." "I'm never alone," she said. "I'm human." He raised his arm. A glowing blade extended from his wrist. She fired. The blast hit his chest. He staggered back but didn't fall. She fired again. Missed. He charged. Mira ducked, rolled behind a crate, and shot again. The shot hit his leg. He stumbled. She rose to her feet, breathing hard. Regulon limped toward her, weapon raised. "You've lost." "Maybe," she said. "But I'm still here." She grabbed the final explosive from her belt, the same kind she used on the tunnel collapse. He froze. "If I die," she said, "you go with me." He stared at her, calculating. She saw the first flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. "Even if you kill me now," she said, her voice steady, "others are already far from here. You can't chase them all. You won't find them. You've delayed extinction, not prevented it." He growled. "Then we've already won," she said. Regulon stepped back. He didn't turn. He didn't run, but he backed away, slowly. For the first time, Mira saw it. Fear. He feared what he couldn't control. He feared hope. Minutes passed. He was gone. The remaining soldiers followed him, and Mira, wounded and breathing heavily, collapsed against the wall, alone in the tunnel. She finally let her weapon fall from her hand. She had nothing left to fight with, but she had done what she came to do. Outside, beyond the rock and ash, the human shuttle drifted deeper into the stars, far enough to disappear. Deep in space, far from Delta 6, the stars shimmered like cold fires. The small shuttle carrying the last survivors of the colony floated quietly between asteroids, hidden by silence and distance. The engine was low on power. The air was thin. Supplies were stretched, but they were alive. Rel sat at the front, watching the navigation screen. His fingers trembled over the controls, worn down by worry and exhaustion. He checked the scanners for the 100th time. No council ships, no signals, just emptiness. Behind him, in the narrow passenger cabin, children slept in their mothers' arms. Others sat in silence, faces pale and hollow. No one had spoken in hours. The fear hadn't faded, but it had changed. It was now quiet, heavy, real. Lyra sat beside Rel, her eyes fixed on the stars. "We made it out," she said softly. Rel nodded, but didn't smile. "We did." She looked down. "What about Mira?" He didn't answer at first. Then he said, "She gave us a future." Back on Delta 6, the fires had died down. The council troops had retreated, their mission incomplete. The tunnels were cracked, filled with dust and rubble. Machines lay in pieces, lights flickered on and off. Mira sat near the collapsed control room, her back against a wall. Blood dried on her skin. Her suit was torn. Every breath felt like fire. But her eyes were open. She stared at the ceiling, rock and steel overhead, listening to the silence. She had fought as long as she could, held them off, forced them to leave. That was enough. She pulled a small device from her jacket pocket, a signal beacon, one of the last relics from old Earth. She had reprogrammed it during the final days, rewired it to send one message, over and over, across the stars. She activated it. A light blinked. The message began. "This is Mira Solon, human, survivor of Delta 6. To any colony, ship or soul who hears this, we are not gone. They tried to erase us. They failed. We are alive. We are still here." The signal repeated. Again and again. A pulse sent across the galaxy. It drifted through empty space, past broken satellites, past dead planets, through dust fields and silent systems. For days, then weeks, then longer. No one answered, until one day, a ship caught the signal. It was old, patched together from different tech. It flew alone, without a name. Inside, a crew of drifters, scavengers, outlaws, survivors, watched as the message played on their screen. The captain leaned forward, listening. When it ended, she turned to her crew. "Set course," she said. "We're not alone anymore." Somewhere in the dark, the last human colony had become a spark. Not an army, not a victory, but a beginning. Back on Delta 6, Mira closed her eyes. She heard nothing, felt nothing, but she smiled, because she knew her voice was out there now, riding the stars, louder than fear,